鱼饺我好像没吃过哎。
现在我有冰淇淋。
它非常直接。
A native accent is impossible to attain, right?
Wrong.
But when Americans speak Chinese, they often do it with an American accent.
你好，哥们儿，你想跟我喝个啤酒吗？
冰淇淋。
Even those who speak perfect Chinese might still sound American. But what does that mean? It's very simple. By the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly why you might have an American accent when speaking Chinese, how to get a native sounding accent, and the exact steps and timeline to do it by yourself, or with my help if you want. Pronunciation Bootcamp starts September 23rd, link below. Now, even if your goal isn't to sound native, but just to have crisp, intelligible speech and be able to understand others, there's a good chance you still struggle to hear and produce those strange foreign sounds. That's these. The sounds in Chinese that don't exist in English. Even the ones that are essentially the same are a little bit different. And if you see this type of stuff, please run away ASAP. But we'll get to all these sounds in a bit. First, there's one thing that people struggle with that everyone treats as this big scary thing: tones. If you don't spend enough time on the tones, then there's a good chance you'll get a huge percentage of them wrong.
我的中文很糟糕，但是我天，试一试用中文。
In English, the tone or intonation of your speech is more about attitude and emotions, and it can help show that a sentence is a question or a command. But in Chinese, every single syllable has a specific pitch or pitch change to differentiate meaning and convey attitude, emotions, etc. In other words, Chinese tones and intonations are entangled in a complex tonal sound system that applies to each syllable of the sentence. What this means is that getting a tone wrong can be equally as confusing as getting a consonant or vowel wrong. Unless people have been trained to distinguish nuanced pitch and sound, a delicate guide is much needed to help the non-tonal language native learners get the hang of the system. It is even more challenging when many textbooks and teachers just butcher Chinese pronunciation teaching. My husband even found a textbook aimed at correcting Chinese pronunciation in non-native learners that told teachers don't have high standards. Why?
Because tones are just too hard for us.
I hate that attitude. It's definitely something that can be trained in a few months. By the way, I'm Rita, aka Fan Laoshi, a 13-year Mandarin teacher and your accent coach. Make sure to download my 6-step Mandarin pronunciation roadmap for free if you haven't. Back to Chinese tones. In second language learning theory, we have the concept of negative transfer. This means the habits or rules from a learner's first language which interfere with the learning and usage of a second language. Learners tend to apply their native language's pronunciation, grammar, or vocabulary to the new language they are learning, and this leads to mistakes.
我不可以用我的手机，我们拍的时候，所以我现在拍这个，因为他们给我老干妈。 我不知道关于老干妈。
While words, word order, and sentence structure mistakes are easier to spot, the sounds of the language are a lot more subtle, especially when various pitches are involved all the time. To American learners, Chinese tones within words are the easiest, and most learners and teachers just stop there because they feel like that's the most about tones that they can do and get.
这种话很难。
But when it comes to sentences, i.e. what we really say to others, the tones are either completely gone or replaced with English intonation.
他家说中文，他和他的奶奶只说中文。
Her family speaks Chinese, and her grandma only speaks Chinese.
Where only a few tones can be retained in the pitch flow going up and down. I've met so many intermediate or even advanced level American college students who can pronounce Chinese words with very good tones and immediately switch to English intonation when they start saying sentences. It's quite bizarre to see the students using fancy Chinese words and complex sentences even fluently, but they just sound so American.
Jimmy Fallon 工作额是主持人的在电视节目名字 The Tonight Show.
Xiaoma's Chinese, on the other hand, is super fluent with very decent tones and intonation.
两个都好吃是吗？两个都好吃是吗？
This shows us if you get the tones in words and intonations in sentences accurate, it facilitates your conversations with Chinese natives, and they definitely would say,
哇塞，你中文说的都比我好呀！
Of course, to professional accent coaches Coach's ears, Xiaoma's Mandarin still sounds pretty American, and it is mainly because of the English vowels and consonants that he uses in his Mandarin.
还行吧，我还在练习。
I don't want to get too technical, but we can think of Chinese sounds like this. The sounds that are essentially exactly the same. You don't really need to do anything different to pronounce these correctly. Next, we have the ones that are a bit different, but messing them up doesn't usually impact comprehension. A, t, p, n, l, sh, ch. Usually, you just need to pay attention to a few details, like where your tongue is located when speaking English or Chinese. Take the English word don't, for example. If someone says it with a strong Chinese accent,
Don't.
you'll still be able to understand, but it just sounds a little bit off. The DT and N in English and Chinese are slightly different. In English, these sounds touch the roof of your mouth, what's called the hard palate.
D, t, n.
In Chinese, they touch the back of your upper teeth.
D, t, n.
We go over every single one of these sounds in Fan Mandarin Voice and the pronunciation bootcamp, so you know exactly how to pronounce them. Finally, the toughest ones and the ones that really make you stand out when you mispronounce them are the sounds that just don't exist in American English. Ji, qi, xi, zhi, and yu, or in most languages like and if we take a close look at the vocal tract and the organs for making sounds, there are a couple of reasons why Americans' Mandarin still sounds English. 1. Tongue position. Take for example the JQ sounds. Americans pretty much just replace them with the sounds in G,
决定结婚。
she.
我想要。
有机会出来练习一下。
Even the Chinese concept of qi becomes qi in English. To pronounce this sound, you need to put the tip of your tongue behind your bottom teeth. Your tongue will curl up a bit, and it's actually the middle part of your tongue that touches the roof of your mouth. It might feel weird at first, but the more you practice, the better you'll get. 2. Tongue shape. The Chinese sounds zhi, chi, shi, zhi in general aren't very difficult, but similar to the ji, qi, xi, you need to make sure your tongue is curled just right. Once you find the right spot, you just need to keep drilling it and it will eventually become muscle memory.
Nice.
3. Tongue movement. When you have words in a sentence, it's important to switch smoothly between the different sounds and to be aware of certain ways that native speakers link sounds or reduce them. This might sound complex, but just a few key rules will help you understand fast native speech. Ultimately, the key is to do targeted practice with a clear goal for each session. And that's what we do in our pronunciation bootcamp, which starts on September 23rd. You get a daily mission to fix all those trouble areas, internalize good habits, and you can get one-on-one personalized feedback to make sure you pronounce everything perfectly. It might feel impossible to get there, but there are just 4 steps that will get you much closer to your dream accent in Chinese. And you can do it in 20 minutes a day and less than 3 months. Check out the link below to join, and I'll see you in the bootcamp.